As it stands, could things get any worse for the Toronto Maple Leafs so far this season? We might get our answer as soon as this weekend with two huge games coming up on the schedule. Is there a method to Sheldeon Keefe's madness, or are the problems really of those up top, the management? We will get into that and much more in this video. Guys, welcome back to Leafs Digest. My name is Darius Domingues, and before we go any further, I'm going to ask that you please subscribe to the channel. We've noticed that a lot of people watching our videos are not subscribed, and we are on the road to 5K subscribers. So please do that. But guys, let's get into the video. The Leafs, man, something has got to change. Anything has got to change after that game against the Ottawa Senators last night. Okay, it can't get worse. It literally cannot get worse this season. They have to change something. I feel like, you know, in years past, in the Matthews, Marner, and Tavares era, Nylander included in that, Morgan Riley even, they've never really made like a huge splash early in the year just because they really haven't had to, and they have to like feel things out, and they've been a good team. But something is in the water with this team. It's not looking good, okay? And especially after last night's game against the Senators, the defense is not good enough. I don't want to hear about injuries. The depth is not good enough. The system, the structure is not good enough, okay? Joseph Woll can only make so many saves. He made some big saves last night. And if you look at his stats, he's still a very productive and good goalie. He's putting up great numbers, even though he's letting in 5 goals. The Leafs defense and structure as a whole, as a team, I don't just mean the 6 defensemen. The forwards too, the entire defensive structure, something is wrong. Something has to change, okay? Absolutely, all right? But let's take a look at the lineup as it stands, okay? And we'll get into all the potential trades and all that good stuff in a minute, okay? So let's get into this. So as the Leafs lineup stands right now, okay, let's take a look at the forwards. We got Matthew Knies finally, since my last video, I've been harping on it for a long time, finally got moved up to the first line. He was with Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner. Tyler Bertuzzi, I don't hate him. And he scored on that second line. John Tavares and William Nylander also extending his point streak to 13 games. Has been great. The third line finally has purpose. I was calling for it to have purpose. This third line looked great last game. Robertson got an assist. He got a goal in this game against the Senators. It has purpose. The fourth line is an issue. I love Noah Gregor. You know, he brings that skill, that grit. David Kampf looks lost so far this year. And Ryan Reeves, guys, I feel like the honeymoon phase might be over with Ryan Reeves. He has done absolutely nothing since game 2 against the Minnesota Wild. Nothing. What is the answer? Is it to scratch him? They can't really do that because of cap situations. They're going to have to find a way, and we'll get into it in just a few minutes. They might be finding a way to do it. But something's got to change in that fourth line. But again, some of the forwards looking lost. I do like some of the play, but Tyler Bertuzzi, we need more out of him. I know he scored last night. I have liked them on that second line, but we need just another level out of him. David Kampf looks lost, and the penalty kill has not been good this year as well. Just the whole defensive structure, like I said. But let's take a look at the defense as it stands as well right now. Morgan Riley and TJ Brody, I love that pairing. I've loved it since the bubble season or the COVID season, whatever it's called. Mark Giordano with John Klingberg has not worked. It's never worked, and I don't think it's going to work. Something needs to change there. William Lagesson has been a great surprise. He's played very well, I find. Let me know what you think in the comments, but I find he's adjusted very well, and he's taken upon big minutes for them when they need somebody to step up. So he's been a nice surprise. Simone Benoit, he was on the ice. He was on the ice last night. I don't know if he made a huge difference, in terms of minutes. He's playing a lot, but I don't know if he's making a huge difference, getting scored on. He's just a place filler. He won't be there much longer. So, there's that, right? But I mean, if we take a look, the Leafs had a morning skate today, or sorry, not morning skate, practice. And they're running some new lines going into their game tomorrow against Calgary, which we'll get into. Very interesting storylines with that, the Hall of Fame game. But anyway, they had some line combos tweeted out here by Mark Masters. You got the first line hasn't changed. Second line hasn't changed. Third lines look great, hasn't changed. Fourth line hasn't changed in practice, but Holmberg's been brought up, okay? They sent, I believe, it was Benoit down this morning, or sorry, Lajoie down this morning, and Holmberg is back up. So he could possibly fit in somewhere on that fourth line, maybe potentially replacing Reeves. If you look at the defense, not much has changed either. McCabe is practicing again, which is a good sign, but I don't think he'll play this weekend. And the biggest sign here is Klingberg is on the 4th pairing, which means Klingberg, as of this morning, could be a healthy scratch heading into the games this weekend. This is a guy, what are we, 13 games into the year? This is a guy you are paying north of $4 million to, okay? Because he was going to come in and be the power play specialist, even though you have one. Morgan Rielly, right? You're paying this guy north of $4 million to now sit in the press box because he's healthy, sit in the press box just 13 games into the year. Not good enough. I don't even think, we'll get into it too with Sheldeon Keefe. He said he needs to protect Klingberg. This guy makes $4 million. He knows how to play in the NHL. He is a liability. We know who he is. He's a strictly offensive defenseman. He is a worse version of Erik Karlsson. Why would you expect defense out of a guy like this? You can't build a D-core with a guy like this when you already have someone like Morgan Rielly. It doesn't make sense to me, okay? I just don't understand what the game plan is moving forward here. They have to get rid of him somehow. They're going to have to salary dump him somehow to another team, and we will get into that very shortly. But something to keep in mind, which I thought was very, very interesting, someone pointed out to me, if they happen to beat Calgary, which they have to beat Calgary, it's a must-win on Friday night. If they happen to beat Calgary and Vancouver, they will have the exact same record this year through as many games as last year. Okay, and what happened last year? Everything turned out okay. I am by nature an optimist, and I think that they will be okay. They will figure it out. But there are some issues, some glaring issues that they're not doing anything about right now, and I think that is cause for concern. I would be very concerned about that. Okay, but yeah, moving forward, they need to beat Calgary, and I think it'd be nice to beat Vancouver. Vancouver looks very good right now, but it would be very nice to beat Vancouver. So yeah, this year it looks like it might be a personnel issue, though. It's through as many games they have as many wins if they beat these teams. It could be a personnel issue, but let's take a look at what Sheldeon Keefe said after last night's game, because I thought it was quite interesting and quite glaring that he's actually pointing out maybe what could be the problem as well. Another minor problem, but we'll get into it. Keefe on his level of concern with defensive play, very high. Some of it is individual, some of it is collective, like I talked about earlier. Within the structure, there's hardly a structure, it seems, this year. There's no defensive structure for this team. Some of it is just being committed to it, And I thought that last line was very interesting, just being committed to it, because I've noticed that even on the forwards, they have not been strong on the wall this year. They have not been picking up their defensive responsibilities in the D zone. All right. And if we take a look at this other Sheldeon Keefe quote from last night, on the defensive issues, on the topic of that, some of it is just being committed to it. We sit in here and we celebrate guys who score big numbers and score a ton. And I think he's alluding to, Austin Matthews putting up crazy numbers this year. He could smash that 60 goal record he put up a few years ago. And William Nylander with the point streaks. We don't talk enough about what we give up. That's the reality. We have to prioritize keeping the puck out of our net. And yes, but how do we go about doing that? We need to instill, a culture, a structure into the Leafs game plan that is not there and it hasn't been there for a long time. I think it got a little bit better last year. That's why they won a playoff series, right? But it's clearly missing this year. Clearly, right? Like, we celebrate, wow, Nylander 13-game point streak to start the season. They're a 500 team. They're almost below 500. They could be this weekend. This is, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if it's in that room. I really don't know if it's in that room. But let's move on to the games this weekend and some potential trade scenarios, which is the juicy stuff, okay? So the Flames are in town this week on Friday for the Hall of Fame game. And speaking of the Calgary Flames, former GM of the Calgary Flames, Brad Treliving, is the GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs, right? He loves his guys. We know this. He loves his guys. He loves to pick his guys. Even when he was in Calgary, he loves a big team, heavy team. He likes his skill as well, but he likes a heavier team. So could he be working on a deal to bring both, we've talked about it on the channel before, Nikita Zadorov and Chris Tanev to the Toronto Maple Leafs? I think that'd be huge. Chris Tanev would be a great add too. We're all talking about Zadorov. He's big. Tanev's a hard defenseman to play against. He's right-handed. which is, very rare, not only in the league, but the Leafs have not had really tough, big right-hand defenseman in a long time, minus Luke Chen, right? But I think that would really help the team, adding to the defense. But let's take it a step forward. Could we take it a step forward? Could we take it a step forward? Samsonov has not been great. You have a great goalie in Joseph Woll, okay? Great goalie in Joseph Woll. But there's some glaring defensive issues that's maybe exposing him a little bit, right? Samsonov has not been great. There's no issue with Woll. He makes base salary. That's fine. What if we were to move out Ilya Samsonov somehow and bring in Jacob Markstrom, who is having a great year in Calgary despite them having a poor start and the team basically falling apart, right? What do you guys think about that? Jacob Markstrom in Toronto. Wouldn't that be interesting? A bona fide starter, the way he's playing. He hasn't looked terrible, right? He's had some spotty years. So do a lot of goalies. Bobrovsky, for example, when they went to the Stanley Cup final. So I think that might be interesting. What if he could snag the goaltender out of Calgary as well? Not only just the defenseman. I think that would be very interesting. Now, you might be asking me, Darius, this sounds fantastic, right? This is best case scenario. How do we make this work? All right. I saw this trade scenario on Twitter, which I thought was great. And if the money works, if this is true, why not? I thought this was great. So a gentle reminder that Zadorov plus Tanev, both 50% retained, which, you have to get Calgary to retain 50%. But I don't think that's, too crazy. They're a bad team. They would like to load up on maybe some prospects or picks. I think they'd be willing to do it. Their season's already kind of in the toilet. So both of them combined at 50% retained is $4.125 million. Okay. Klingberg is right there at $4.15 million. All right. For him alone. And he's been a huge liability and issue. If Treliving can figure out the necessary picks and prospects, the cap can in fact work. They can pull it off. I know that's not including Markstrom, but if you were to move Samsonov out, maybe another piece or two out or around, maybe you could figure something out there. I think if you're going to go after Zadorov, those have been the reports. The Leafs are going to push hard for him. We know Treliving really likes him. Why not go all the way? Calgary is willing. Their season's already in the toilet. They want to move out these older pieces, move in some newer pieces, prospects, picks. Why not go after Tanev as well? I think that'd be great. And not only that, we talk about the defense, right? It is an issue. We need to address that. The Leafs need to address that. But in years past, the offense has also been a problem. With all these, $11 million players, they've had a hard time scoring in the playoffs. And they're having a real hard time this year so far, minus the last two games, finding scoring from their depth. That third line's finally clicking, but before that, they're really having trouble finding it elsewhere, right? So may I throw this out? And I've been watching this guy for a while. He used to play in the OHL, okay? Morgan Frost from the Philadelphia Flyers. He is a great project player, I'll call him. He is an NHLer, but I think he would look great on the Leafs, especially maybe a third line role. He could even be maybe a fourth liner. He plays with some tenacity. I think it could possibly be a good addition because the Flyers are healthy scratching him almost every night. He's not playing. I think he would be a welcome and interesting condition. So a trade like that, could help the Leafs shed some cap as well. Maybe they could send somebody the other way. I don't know. Maybe it's some wishful thinking. I'm just going above and over my head or, whatever it may be. But it would be nice. I thought this tweet was pretty funny as well. Okay. When the Leafs tweet notification hits, we have acquired Elias Lindholm and Chris Tanev in a 3-team trade with Calgary and Philadelphia. I think this guy is on the same wavelength as me with Philadelphia, right? You're dumping some salary and maybe you take a good asset back in Morgan Frost, something like that. I think there's potential. I think the Leafs can make a big splash here before December. And not only could they, I think it's not only inevitable, but they absolutely have to. They absolutely have to make a change. Like I said, let's talk very quickly about the games this weekend. They are must-win games. You're playing your GM's former team in the Calgary Flames. Their season, like I said, is in the toilet. The team is here. The GM might be coming with the team. Good opportunity to make some things happen. Sparks might fly. Maybe there's a trade even as soon as this weekend. The Leafs are heading to Sweden next week. They have to figure it out before they head there because it's going to be a disaster if they don't. Okay. So sparks could fly as soon as tomorrow, and I think that's really exciting. And on top of that, Vancouver's in town. After the season they had last year, nobody was really expecting them to be as good as they are. I think they sit second in the Pacific. I can't really remember, sorry. But I believe they sit second in the Pacific, which is great. They have a great record, and they're winning games convincingly against good teams like the Oilers. The Oilers have fallen off, right? But they should be a good team. They're beating good teams. So the Leafs are going to have to play up to their level, and we know that that's their strong suit, playing up to other teams, right? They always play down to lower competition. So when the stakes are high, they play, better, I find. So hopefully the game on Saturday is a good one and they don't completely fold. And hopefully they figure it out and there's a trade before they head to Sweden. So with that being said, let me know what you think about the trade possibilities, the scenarios, who they should go out and get, who they should move. If there's a guy from the Marlies that you like that they should bring up, let me know what you think in the comments. My name is Darius Domingues. This is Leafs Digest. Check out some of our other content. We have lots of videos coming and some other trade scenarios on the way, so stay tuned for that, and we will see you in the next video.